Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So, Erica, do you want to summarize the remaining topics that we have for the afternoon so we can, you know, cadence the discussion accordingly? We still have some employee-related business process changes that we need to get through. And then there are timeline questions, query questions that the group wants us to get through, so we'll do that as well. Do you want to set the reminder for the group as to what we have left topic-wise? Okay. So what Erica is now showing is the schedule assignment, the schedule assignment page.
We're
And if you-
not seeing it.
Oh. I have to share. I'm joining. So you can, she's sharing, or she should be. All right. It's okay. I'll grab the share. Erica, are you displaying your screen, your desktop? Because nobody can see anything.
Maybe she's not here just yet.
Oh, she's online. It's just, yeah. The thing, they don't see anything. Okay, cool. Can everyone see their schedule assignment page? No?
But you're not displaying.
Do I have to share? She's sharing. You have to share, right?
You're in the wrong
Someone
one.
has to.
Right, you have to go out and go to the one that she sent at 10:12, because there's 143 people.
All right, so, sorry, I do apologize. I am in the wrong meeting, not you all. And it's this
Can
one,
you see the time on it? When, let's see when it was sent.
1 p.m.
Shuba, I went to the other meeting and asked everyone to join this one, so.
Okay,
And I've canceled the other one.
No, but that's the time, I'm trying to find the time that
so
you sent it, I think it's your other one.
the other one shows canceled.
Okay, yeah.
It's this one. Sorry, guys, I was sharing to the wrong group. Isn't life so complicated, really? Okay.
A big black hole, somebody said.
Uh-huh.
Big black hole.
Oops. So my speaker.
So if we
Muted.
joined on the original link, should we drop off and join on the updated link that you sent?
Yes, please.
How are they on this?
I have no idea. As far as their Teams link, use the one that was with the updated link with this audio. Probably my same Teams link. Is
Okay,
probably
can
why.
everyone mute your speakers, and do they need to?
You need to mute your speakers and your mic.
I did.
Okay.
I'm okay.
And as long as everyone in here is muted and speakers off, we're good. And just speak loud enough that one of the pods picks you up.
Okay. Right, so everyone can hear me through the speakerphone?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to invite Erica once again to share her screen to this chat because previously we could not see it. Erica, you need to do what I did, which is just to go to your the new link that was sent by Stacy and share through that because we could not see your screen. Is that happening? Can you hear all of us? Erica?
Let me chat Erica and see if she is here.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to take over the share and just complete the lesson on employee setup, and then we go on to the processing of the time. Erica, when I finish the curriculum on the employee setup and the lessons thereof, I would like you to take back the share and walk us through the slides for section 3, which is the processing time. And then we can stay in the system for as long as we want. Okay, can you all see my screen or no?
Chuba, can you hear me?
Just about, yes.
Hey, Shuba, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome.
We can hear you.
Apparently, I was in the wrong meeting, or I don't know how I got kicked out, or I don't know what happened. But it seems like there are a group of people who are in a different meeting than this one. So I did ask people to use the link that Stacy sent over. So we should be having some more people join us
Right.
soon.
Yes, we are all speaking through the speakerphone. So in this room, everybody's muting their computer speakers. We're using the speakerphone, so you can hear Paula, Shannon, Brent, and anybody else speaking, right? Once everybody else has a chance to join this new meeting, what I was asking you to do is to share your desktop and sort of situate us with respect to what portions are left. What are the agenda? What's left on the agenda? Did you hear that?
I did until I canceled it.
Did you hear that, Erica?
And I gone in and told everybody.
I'm just
to
going
go
to
over
ask
here.
her on the chat.
I can hear you, Shuba, but I don't see anything.
No, I'm not sharing. I'm asking you
Okay.
to share into this new link and walk through the PowerPoint on what we've got left for section 2, and then situate us with respect to the agenda for section 3, so we can then follow the discussion in a systematic manner.
Okay.
The group has a lot of questions about what the timings of when they are going to be doing tasks. So we need to get to that fairly quickly.
Okay, we're at 168, so I think.
They're still saying no sound. Okay.
All right. I am sharing my screen. Can everyone see it?
Can you see Erica's screen? Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes?
Now we
Awesome.
can, because you're in the right meeting, so good.
Awesome. So, so what's remaining for the rest of this afternoon? You'll be talking through the core changes in section 3. Right now, we only have about 4 more slides to wrap up as it relates to assigning schedules and work groups. So Shuba will be clearing that piece up. And if there are any more questions regarding section 2, we can wrap that up, and Shuba and the team will be able to answer those questions for everyone. And then the remainder of the afternoon will be on those core system and task changes that you all will be experiencing. And that would be the remaining of the training.
Very cool. So once again, I'm going to speak to the speakerphone. I'm a bit of a distance from there. Let's go through the slides. Flip to the next slide. We already saw the assigning work schedule. It's the same as what I'm going to show on the system. But to get through the plans, we already said how many plans are going to be in the new system? Anybody?
2.
Well.
Whoever said 4 gets candy, because they're all going to start with SOI, and they're going to be SOI CMP. This is a quick recap of the morning, but I'm just going to show you actually how it's done in the system. SOI comp is the default one, where all the exempt employees will be going. And SOI CMP, SOI 240 CMP, all of the non-exempts, and you've got a few of those. Move on to the next slide, Erica. And see that one there, SOI comp is the default. Before you go to the schedule assignment, just pause there for a second. I'm going to take back the share. Once I've gone through the comp time assignment and how they will be activating the new comp time assignment and the comp plan assignment, and then inactivating the old one, after that we can go into the schedule assignment. Is that okay? So let me take back the share.
Negotiable.
Yeah, this is all your bread and butter to make sure that employees are set up correctly. And then the other bread and butter is to make sure the time is being processed correctly. We'd like to get to that as quickly as we can. So the navigation remains the same. PeopleSoft have not reworked the navigation. Navigator, navbar, time and labor, enroll time reporters, comp plan enrollment. And in the past, what did you do? Let's say we are going to assign somebody from DNR. Let's assign them to, or let's do ISP. Pam, can you throw an employee at me? Pam, somebody join.
I can give you a number.
Yeah, somebody.
1 with 5 zeros. 24224.
24224.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Mike Wiley. Now let's say he's going to transfer out of ISP and join SPD, and but he's still going to be a non-exempt employee. What you would do, and you know what you would do, right? Let's say that he's going to be doing that as at the beginning of the first payroll, first live payroll in the new system. I would do 05, 01 2022 and assign him to SOI 240 comp CMP, because he's still going to be a non-exempt, but he's going to be non-exempt in a non-ISP business unit. So that's what you will do. You will inactivate them from the old plan, and you will activate them in the new plan. In this case, I did not actually do that, but that's what you would do. The recommendation is to inactivate them from the older plan. Sometimes PeopleSoft gets a little, if you look at the history of this employee, we've had all the historical plans inactivated, or they should be inactivated. So this is pretty much what they do now, right? It's not different when an employee transfers business units. This is pretty much what they do now.
Yep, just different, comp plans, right?
Right.
Standardized now.
Right. And I showed you how these comp plans are set up. It's once again, they have to be assigned to a comp plan to earn comp time buckets, to accrue to the comp time buckets. But the spending of the comp time, the taking of the comp time will be done in. Anybody wants to give me the answer? In absence management, yes. So you're earning your comp time in time and labor. You're taking your comp time in absence management. You're viewing your comp time balances in absence management. But the absence management, when you take your comp time, it will flow to time and labor and flow to payroll based upon how the mapping occurs. So any questions on the comp plan assignment?
Just going with dates, what date do we use when we're if someone's in this transfer situation, what would we use as the effective date of the inactivation of the old comp plan going forward?
When we looked at the conversion, we used the day of the inactivation as one day before the effective date of the new one. Here I've used 5/1 as the effective date of the active comp plan assignment. In this case, I would say if you're going to inactivate this person, Michael Wiley, insert a row of 430 and inactivate them.
Okay, and then what happens, because we run into this periodically as well, that somebody might have had time reported on April, in this example, on April 30th, and we're not able to inactivate with that date.
Are they entitled to the comp time on that date or no?
Well, so when we've had transfers to us from other state agencies, Paula, I actually just ran into that this morning where I tried to inactivate it on the Saturday at the end of the pay period and start them in the new one on the Sunday of the new pay period. And it said they had reported time on that Saturday and I can't inactivate the time reporter, or I'm sorry, I can't inactivate the comp plan.
Okay, so if that situation is going to arise fairly calm, then it might be the effective date of the new assignment is the same effective date of the inactivation. So let me try that. Let me go back to this row. Let me delete this row.
But Pam, and maybe we could talk about it offline, because it depends on, are you accepting the comp time? I mean, if they're coming into you the day before the 30th, if you expect the other agency to pay that out, then that's a different scenario, right?
Right, yeah, so comp time would be paid out by the agency that they're leaving, but it won't let me inactivate the comp plan because they had other time, and I'm happy to talk about it offline. I just wanted to know what date you wanted us to use for this.
Okay, so we'll confirm that for you, but right now, see, because the conversion, I'm having a little bit of a messy time with the dates because we've converted you as a 1/9 to the new system. So but if you look at the way we've done it in the conversion, the 1/8/2022 is inactive in 100, and the activation is that inactivation day +1.
But that's the end of a pay period, and that's the beginning of a pay period.
Right.
That's different than what she's trying to do.
Her scenario is, in this case, they would have had time against this 1/8.
Yeah, yeah, and if they have time on the 30th, you'll have to inactivate it after the 30th in order for them to get the time.
Yeah.
Right, but then what do I use as the start date for the new comp plan?
The very next day.
The very next
For the
day.
next day, yeah.
And if they had, so, yeah, I'll get my list together.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is a common thing, people requesting comp time, especially with state police, right? So we need to provide the rules,
But that might be the difference between 9/1 and 9/2.
right?
Right, 'cause
Okay.
we would, yeah, because Shubha, we would do the effective date of the comp plan enrollment the Sunday of at the beginning of the pay period. And I guess that's my question. Is that what we use here in 9/2 for the effective date? Or is it the first day that they would be reporting time?
Normally, the practice is the first day of they'll be reporting time against the new comp plan. That will be the effective date. That's
Okay.
the rule. But the inactivation is the question we're having. If you're going to inactivate them as of the last day of the previous pay period, and they've got comp time assigned to that, which has not been processed. So that's when we're getting into a question. So I'm going to try and, I'm going to do this. Can you all see my screen? So I think we're having a lot of questions about the termination effective dates. Okay. Now, in this scenario, we're going to pretend that Michael has got time on the 8th, and we're going to inactivate him as of the 9th. And as of the 9th, but then on the 9th, we're also activating him on the new, in the new comp plan. And I believe, see, effective sequence must be greater. See, that's the error you will get. That's the error you would get if you have the same effective date for the inactivation and the activation. So you would have to do incremented by one to be able to save this. And this is a peculiar situation because I'm trying to update a converted record. Okay. So we have to get back to you on that, on the proper sequencing when a person has got time in the system. Is there somebody who is not converted like this, let's say? So let's look at somebody else. Is there somebody else you can give me? Let's try to work through that. But I think, Paula, let's talk about that and put the policy in the chat on what happens if they've got time, active comp time requested on the last day of the payroll period, but the scenario is that's not been processed. It would have been processed, right, by the time we get the new payroll period?
Mhm.
So we need to understand better how police would do that, Pam. When would you be inactivating from the old plan? Would you be inactivating them when they still had time in, or when would you, add the new effective date in row? So when does this happen?
So Shuba, it happens, really, for us, it happens when people are transferring between agencies. It's not really necessarily a trooper situation. If you have somebody that's transferring between agencies and they work on that last Saturday of the pay period, you can't, at least in 9-1, you can't inactivate the time reporter on the day when they're still reporting time. It's not necessarily a comp has been requested that day. It's just they had hours worked on that final day of the pay period.
Right. But that makes sense, correct? So let's take that. That makes sense. I mean, PeopleSoft will not allow you to inactivate any part of the employee's assignment on the day when time has been reported. So in that situation, Missy's answer is correct. It'll have to be 1 day over on top of that.
Mhm.
1 day plus, I mean, not top of that, plus 1 day.
Yeah,
And it may not necessarily be the beginning of a pay period.
right.
So let's confirm that and put the rules, the policy rules together in the chat so we can continue. And in that situation, it's not really different than 9-1, is it? The system still works the same way.
Yeah, the system still doesn't allow you to make somebody inactive if you have reported time on that day.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be the next day that you can make them inactive, and then,
You would just have to make them active the
Yeah.
second day.
active
next
and
day.
And
then,
if you have somebody that's trying to use it on the first day, it's a one-off scenario, we'll have to take care of that when we cross that bridge. It's not gonna happen that often.
Yeah, but it's not logical, right? I mean, I'm transferring from, let us say, SPD to ISP.
Yeah.
It's not a likely scenario. You can't have comp time in that old job and comp time in the new job. That's not gonna happen, is it?
Well, no, you can, but, I mean,
This shouldn't
has
happen that
to-
frequently, right?
what's that?
This shouldn't happen that frequently where we have
Yeah.
comp time for different agencies a day apart.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. I think it'll be very infrequent, so.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like he worked 8 hours in the old job and then, I'll charge comp time and then joined a new job and then start again. So that's not a likely scenario, but we'll lay down the rules.
Hey, Shuba, the other thing is there's only a few comp plans now. So I mean,
Uh-huh.
IS is definitely, a little different because they're different, but typically if they're going between agencies, they'll probably stay in the same comp plan.
Right,
The
right,
majority of the time, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and the situation where somebody's going from exempt to non-exempt, and therefore they have to switch from SOI comp to SOI 240 CMP, that might occur a lot more frequently than somebody moving into ISP, right? So for that also, we'll have to make sure that if they've reported comp in one place, we'll have to think about what they will do if they want to report comp in the same day. unfortunate. Anyway, okay. So let's move on to the next topic, which is to look at all the schedules you have in the system. And Pam, I'm going to call you out as well because you have more schedules in the system than anybody else, which is basically state police. And Missy's laughing because she helped us set up some of them, and we created many of them. So a situation, if you could throw a scenario at us, is where we'll just go back into the system, remind ourselves about the schedules we've got in the system, quite a lot of those, and then we should get on with the whole processing piece, right? So where you're going to be assigning an employee to a schedule, the same logic applies. You don't want to be using default schedule anymore. You're going to have an issue where you try to assign a new schedule to a person who's upgraded into the 9.2 database with this guy here, where you've got an SOY 185 default schedule. The system doesn't recognize it anymore. So let us say that I'm going to insert a new row for this guy and make it a 5-1 assignment online. It's going to give me a lot of grief with this. Let us say I want to move Michael Wiley from ISP STD 8.5. And Pam, I'm sure you've got a few things you can help me with there. This is all ISP, guys. So let us say I'm moving him to a different schedule.
Shuba, I think we're gonna remove that row as part of conversion cutover. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's the message I'm getting, that it's going to be cleared for you by the time you go live. But if you're moving them from, the shift 0 to shift 10 now and try to save it, we are going to get this weird error, no schedule, and it's really talking about this defunct schedule. That's part of the conversion. When we cut over to the new system, this guy will be removed. The ones with the star. All right, be quiet. I'm yelling at the system side, guys, not at you all. And so we, as part of the cleanup of the system, when we transfer from upgrade from 9.1 to 9.2, we're going to be removing some of these defunct schedules, so they're not in the employees. Or you will not. The lesson for you is if you do the previous button, you may be missing the use default schedule that you had in 9.1, but the SOI STD naming convention. Does that make sense, everybody? You'll probably only see the new assigned schedules, but then in the past you never used the schedules for anything, any driving, any eligibility. In the new system, as I said, and Ken was confirming this morning, we are going to be using your schedule assignments to validate the eligibility of any absences you're requesting. Any questions on this? And okay, existing employees on May 10th, we don't have the conversion logic. Let's take about a couple of minutes to talk about the conversion logic. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah. So the employees that work a standard schedule of 37.5, the majority of the employees have been converted with the SOI 37.5 hours a week schedule, which is the general schedule that most employees work. If you have other schedules that do not fall within that category, you have employees that work additional schedules, then you need to contact us so we can get those at least created and then they will convert over so that at go live, you guys can go in, or the managers can go in and assign the schedule. But we do have standard schedules in there, so if you have people that work odd schedules, you just let us know at GMIS and we can get those created at least before go live.
Right, and I think I showed this briefly this morning. A variety of shifts have been set up in the system, and a variety of schedules based upon the information coming to us from the different agencies have also been set up in the system, right? PeopleSoft will allow you to enter different kinds of shifts. You can enter rotating shifts. We've created some for the state police. It also allows you to create flex shifts. But right now, the only schedules being created for the state of Indiana are elapsed time shifts. And you all understand the concept of elapsed versus punch versus flex, right? Elapsed just means a duration, 7.5 hours in a day. It doesn't hold you to whether you're working 7.5 from 9 to 6 or 10 to 4, you just work those hours in a day. So that's an elapsed shift. And that's what we're going to be creating for everybody. And as Missy said, if you don't have a schedule in the old world, you'll be having a schedule in the new world just to allow the absence to calculate correctly. Anything on that absence flavor, Ken, Sally, or Lavinia?
Yeah, Ken's here. The work schedule assists us to determine how many hours you work per day, so that let's say you are taking 1 week off. Okay, then all you need to do is just to specify the start date and the end date. The rest of the calculation is being done by absence management automatically. It's because of the schedule. So let's say you are requesting vacation from this Wednesday to next Wednesday, which cover, let's say you are a 7.5 Monday to Friday. Okay, so if your schedule is assigned to you, then all you need to do is specify, I'm starting a vacation this Wednesday, ending next Wednesday. The system will know when you are scheduled to work, which include Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then next Monday, next Tuesday, next Wednesday. It does not count for Saturday and Sunday because you are scheduled off. Now, keep that in mind also, because this coming Friday is a holiday, and the system knows about it as well. So instead of taking 6 days vacation, the system knows that you're taking only 5 days vacation. So all the key, think about the main purpose for having a schedule is allow the system to do the work for you. So you don't need to specify, 7.5 Wednesday, 7.5 Thursday, and so on and so forth. So it's all being taken care of that for you without you entering it. All you need is to enter one single request, and the system knows how to calculate. So that's the main purpose for having all of us with the work schedule assigned to you. Am I able to explain this clearly?
I think so, Ken, but can you or Sally or Lavinia answer the question on transfers? If an employee is transferring from an agency who allows comp time to an agency that does not allow comp time, is there any kind of logic that pays that out? Or can you explain what the process should be for the receiving and agency?
Well, I
Right.
did just explain that in the chat. Comp time for non-exempt employees should be paid out whenever that employee leaves your agency. It's your liability, pay it out. should not flow to the next agency that they go to.
So what's the process for that then, Sally, for them
It
to
happens
pay?
it should happen automatically upon the job data entry. But there should be a query to check on that and make sure that it did happen.
So every transfer, okay, will pay
Of a
out comp.
non-exempt employee who has comp time.
Okay,
So Susan Ellison, we submitted all the different schedules worked by our staff. Are those currently, where is that? Is this gaming?
I'm sorry, what?
Susan Ellison is asking you. She submitted all the different schedules worked by the staff. Are they built in 9.2?
I'll have to check those.
We'll check those and let you know, Susan,
Hey, Suba.
right?
Suba, can you hear me? This is Lavina.
Hi, Lavinia. Yes, we can hear you.
Just a point of clarification on the comp time payout transfer. Sally's correct, except we currently do not have the automation for the comp transfer. We're not going live with the transfer automated payout. It would be a manual comp time payout upon transfer. We do have the automation for termination, but we don't have the automation turned on for the transfer. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
thanks, Lavinia. So do you, when we say it's manual, what's the expectation? If you could just share that with the group so they know.
So payroll would go in to the absence event table and enter a manual comp time payout. And we've got a job aid with the steps for that.
Thank you.
All right. A couple of other questions. So I think Susan is from Department of Financial Institutions. So Tina Bryant asks a good question. If we are an agency that works 8 hours, will it roll it to 9/2 with that schedule assignment?
That schedule will be in 9/2, but it's not gonna be automatically assigned yet.
That's
I mean,
something.
and that's something that they'll have to do when we go live, is assign it to those individuals, but the
Right.
schedule's there.
So
And
I
it's
would
a
like to
6-hour
call out-
day schedule.
I would like to call
Go ahead,
out
Randy.
one thing. So from a time and labor perspective, schedules are important for absence, but really a lot of what you guys are needing to look at and make sure is accurate is really just the worked time and that time that's entered on the timesheet. So I feel like there's a lot of questions about schedules, which is fine. We can go through all of those questions about schedules, but really, I think the most important thing is making sure that we have, the right time accounted for on the timesheets and how these rules are going to apply so that you guys can validate that worked time along with absences as well. So I don't know how much time we had allotted, Shuba, for schedules, but really this is a very small part of time and labor.
True, but I think this particular question is relevant only from the fact, and Ken, keep me honest here, Ken and Lavinia, keep me honest here, from the point of view of what time and what absence will allow, right? So if Tina has got a person who's supposed to be on an 8-hour schedule, and we converted them with a 7-hour schedule, Tina, your group, the agency payroll group, has got the accountability to fix that. Because absence will curtail the hours that it deems eligible for that absence, because it's not going to give you 8 hours if your legal schedule is only 7.5.
Ken's here. It's just the default. So let's say if someone who's taking 1 day off and you are scheduled to 8 hours instead of 7.5, the system will give you the 8 hours there. So your schedule is, if their schedule is assigned incorrectly, then the default will be wrong. So that's the reason why it's important that you assign to the right schedule.
Hi,
However,
Natalie.
I'm sorry.
Hello, this
Ho-
is Helen. Hi.
Okay. However, the system doesn't prevent you from entering more hours of absence than you scheduled. A good example is, let's say you are scheduled to work 10 hours a day, okay, and yes, it's on uh, a holiday, something like that. Then you actually could put, um, let's say you are an 8 hours person. Sorry, you're a 10 hours person, but you have to you get paid for only one day, which is what, convert to 8 hours, something like that. Then you could request the 2 hours additional to that holiday date, and the system will allow you to do so.
Okay.
So just to follow up on what Ken said, if the schedules are not accurate, then employees, when they request an absence, have to pay attention to what they're requesting and what is actually the balance being taken and that flows the timesheet. But they can request more or less hours than what they're scheduled.
Have we answered all your questions? Right. Okay. Moving on. So to Brandy's point, if there are no other questions with respect to assigning schedules or assigning employees to a work group after they've been newly hired, or transferred or rehired, and there are no other questions with respect to the comp time other than the outstanding question about when should the old comp time be inactivated, and would there be a likely scenario when they could have hours against the old assignment and hours against the new assignment on the same day. So these are that's the only question that we've got outstanding. There are no other questions. I think we'll move to section 3. And can I hand over the share to you, Erica, to share through the section 3? And here in this section, guys, we're going to be talking through, the reporting time, which is basically items on the timesheet, what you enter on the timesheet. Payable time is what the system validates as you having earned or worked for that pay period, including your overtime, including your comp time straight, your comp time premium, and any other things like vehicle reporting and holiday comp reporting. It's going to have all of that in payable time. On payable time, it's also going to have things like the chart fields assigned to an employee. So let's go to the next slide, and this is just so we're going to be talking about the processes that linked reported and payable time. And if you go through the next slide, she's showing you what I showed you earlier this morning, which is employees if they don't have any supervisory duties, if they don't have direct reports, will only be able to see the employee self-service. Correct, Brandy? There'll be no access to the MSS and the work center. Move to the next slide if you don't mind, and I'm going to show you in the system what an employee will be reporting in the Fluid. How many of you have actually seen the Fluid timesheet through employee self-service in Fluid, through this dashboard? Anybody?
Not many,
Not many?
no.
Okay. Okay, people are saying that they've seen the screenshots.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
showed the screenshot earlier.
Yeah. Okay, can you move to the next slide? We can talk through this very quickly, and then I want to show them in the system what they're going to be able to see. We need to walk through the timelines. We need to go through what they will be doing and when they will be doing it. Erica, next slide. Just, yeah. So, and as we saw this morning, your time tile on employee self-service is very busy. It's got a lot of things on it. The enter time, don't get confused between enter time and report time. The report time is sort of funky. It shows you 1 week or one day, and then it allows you to drill down to that 1 day and enter it. It's almost like in the old system, we were doing, if you chose to show the screen by 1 day, that's what it will do. Your default option is to enter time by the week, which is the first tile that it's highlighted there. When you've submitted time, and we've enabled time summary for employee self-service and all sections, you should be able to see a summary of the time that has been entered by the employee. And assuming that you will be doing most of the validating yourself, you should be able to see the summary of the time that's been submitted by day and by week, and you should be able to see the absences you requested and the payable time that has been generated for your time, reported time. So let's look at that in the system. And Erica, I'm going to take back the share. So the employee, which includes all of you, basically, when you are wearing your employee hat, you'll be going here and employee self-service. So this is what she was showing earlier. Click on the time and you'll be entering the time. I've got the time summary. I can see my exceptions because the system has been turned on for viewing the exceptions in the on the time and labor dashboard. Ignore the report time. You can look at the weekly time summary and the payable time that is created. You can see your request. You can request absence. You can view requests. You can view absence balances and any extended absence like FEMLA that you've got. And you can cancel cancel absences. You can all do that through the time tile, right? So most of the questions will come in like here. When your questions will come in when the time is being submitted and they can't, they want to assign a chart field, for example. And we start the chart field like a 6000248082 because we've been told that that's what we'll, get. You see, it says no rows entered, there are no results for that particular, that particular code because it doesn't actually exist in the system. You cannot willy-nilly, in the current system, you're getting projects. You're able to have projects entered independently on the timesheet, right? You can enter a resource type on the timesheet, and they may or may not be valid for the fund. They may or may not be valid for the business unit. They may or may not be valid for the project, for the program or whatever it is that finance is looking for. And that's why your finance team is doing so much reallocating on the back end after the time hits the general ledger. In this new system, it's all tied together, right? You've got, I'm going to scrub this out so it doesn't keep bothering me. So in this new system, if I were to, join, submit time as a DNR person or a state police person, all your speed types will include project grant, include the resource type, include resource subcategory and category if it's valid for you. It'll all come in through the speed type, and I'll explain the whole process to you shortly. Um, any questions on the timesheet? So once, so what are the kind of errors you will get when a person submits a timesheet? One of the most common errors is if they were able, you will not be able to see a chart field with a, well, what we call, on the naming convention. If I am part of the business unit 50, the only combination codes that I can select, combination codes or chart fields I can select on this chart field search page are chart fields which are valid for business unit 50, which is also your AOS agency. The system will give you errors if you try, for example, to override, do clever things like overriding the business unit. And let me say, I'm just going to do. I'm going to clear this. It's completely ignoring the fact that on the timesheet, I've changed it to the public defender's office, but it's still showing me the speed type keys, which are valid for 50. Why does it know that the speed type keys for starting with the 50 business unit number is valid for me? Why does it know that? Can anyone guess? The job data business unit. So it's validating against what you have on job data, and that's why we're asking you to be very careful about what it is you assign a task group and a task profile to, because the whole thing ties back to who you are in the HR pages. Is that making sense? Let me see if I've got. I'm going to assign myself to you, Paula. Is that okay?
Sure. We'll keep you, Shiva.
So in this here, I'm going to do a little bit of hijinks. Sorry about that. I know it's like watching paint dry. I had too many zeros here. So the one thing I wanted to show here is the person I'm attached to, your payroll director, your wonderful payroll director, is an exempt employee. So when I go to her timesheet and hit time, I'm not seeing the speed types chart fields anymore. I'm going to be seeing the task profile. So you see, most people, and Courtney, you can feel free to chime in here, but the way we approach the system is where an employee was an exempt, we assume that they would be defaulting in their charge codes to whatever is the default in the maintained time reported data, or else if they have been specifically told, for example, to toggle out of the default, to override the default that you set up, you being the agency payroll people, set up in on the maintain time reported data, Paula can override that by charging it to a different task profile. She can do that and she can submit. Right? Time reporting codes is the only thing Grumble that it's doing. I'm selecting a time reporting code and I'm submitting it. So I'm submitting it when it, and I'm going to stay with the same employee that I've selected. When this goes, if you go into your time summary page, you should be able to see the legend of what was enrolled, what was submitted and where it is right now. So you've got your reported time there. Let me go back to. And it's showing for this pay period 30 hours. Weekly time summary. This is showing you your weekly time summary and what's been submitted for this particular week. Now, suppose she wants to look at some of her direct reports. She will go into Manager Self-Service and see if there are any approvals for her. So the line managers, the employee, from an employee perspective, they've got access to do a bunch of stuff on the employee self-service, submit time, and then go to all of these request absences, view balances, as Ken showed you this morning, cancel absences, all of that in the morning. But when they wear their manager hat, they will go into manager self-service, and the line manager will then need to approve it. Right now, I'm in as Paula, and Paula doesn't have any approvals. But if they did have, if I'm signing in as a manager who does have pending approvals, they will be showing here as a big, long list of approvals. Right now, I don't think anybody has got pending approvals, right? Let's see, you might want to look. So you will have a list of people, employees showing when the time was submitted, that has their time reported. Shannon, do you want to submit some time? I would like to go back and see them, show them the approval. So in this case, I'm asking Shannon, who's got a direct reporting relationship with Paula, to submit some time so that we can then see how the time is approved, appearing on the pending approvals page. Now, this has to be done in a timely manner, and I'm just going to allow that to go through. Which pay period do you saw submitted?
That's what Jerry asked, what do you want?
Yeah, just this week. Yeah. It went through?
Yep.
Okay, let me refresh the page. Not showing is coming through. Can you look at the... Huh? Okay. So basically, maybe it might have gone to a different person. It shouldn't have. All right. So, the approvals will show here. That the thing that you have to remember is that if the line manager has not been approving the time, it's going to show as, pending approvals. And where do I see that? I go into this person's employee, let me filter by. it is showing approval in process. I'm the manager. I'm signed in as Paula. I'm going to Shannon's, work timesheet. And here, when I look at the approval in process, it shows me all the people that it's routing to. It's showing Paula as the first, and it's not showing me in the next level. So because Paula is still in an incumbent, for every day of the pay period, it is showing me who it is routing to in terms of the level 1 supervisor. And if you look at the dates, for the dates for which nothing has been approved, you will see that it's been pending approval there.
Got the notification to approve her time.
Okay, so Paula has confirmed that she's got the notification to approve time. So going back to manager self-service, still don't see it on the approval tile. I'll have to investigate that. And she got the notification, but it's not showing up here. All right, we'll take a look at that. In the meantime, so what is going to be the timeline when you're going to be doing all of this? We'll get to the calendar in a minute, and I want to walk you through all the different things you will be doing at different points in the calendar, starting from the Friday before payroll. They're familiar with the calendar, right? The time periods. So you get your notification about the, what the pay calendars will be. And when you start, payroll processing begins on the Thursday before the Monday of payroll week, because that's when we are doing an automated generation of the, of the pre-sheet audit and some certain other reports and audits that payroll has to run. This group here in the room with me has to run to be able to, finish payroll on time. But you guys come in advance of that, right? So, is there something on the slides that I'm missing, Erica? I might just share this myself. So we went through all of this, and we went through the timesheet. I just want to make sure that we are covering all of the pieces with respect to time. We looked at the validations that occur on the timesheet and the processes that connect reported to payable time. I'm coming to that in a minute. So we are right here in slide 83 in the presentation. In the system where that is going to happen is when I think I'll have to be signed in as you. You want to share for a second? Can you see the approval? Because right now I'm just attaching myself to you, right?
Yeah, I need to try to log in, right?
But can you see the approval if you signed in as you?
I do see her approval, I think.
Right.
So when I went to my home,
There you go. You've got all of that.
that was on mine.
I can stop sharing if you want to share.
It didn't pick you up.
We can't hear Paula. I don't know if she's wanting to talk to the group.
Sorry, we were just discussing whether or not the approvals went to me or Shuba, since she was trying to sign in as me. So they came to me rather than Shuba, so.
The system knows I'm a fraud. I'm being, I'm just usurping Paula's identity. So there you go. Paula is sharing her screen, and you see on the approvals tile, 18 approvals, pending approval. Oh gosh, Paula, really?
This is old time from UAT, but
Right.
Shannon's time is down here from what she just entered, I believe.
Yep.
I heard you entered. So, let's see.
So are you trying to show us how to, like Shannon enter time and how to approve it, right? Is that what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, but where you come in is if you have direct reports, you'll be approving their time. If you don't have direct reports and you don't see payable time, this is how the system will need to be worked to approve the time. Literally, if the client manager doesn't know what to do, you might end up showing them what to do. I hope you don't have to. I hope they have imbibed the manager self-service training and they are alert about approving time. In the 9-1 system was fairly lenient because GIAC paid you by default. In the new system, it's not going to be lenient. You have to approve the time. So in this case, Paula, as the line manager, will do a select all and approve, or select by day and approve.
Yeah, after you confirm that all the hours are really supposed to be on there, you do a select all and approve up in the right.
Right. So,
You can add comments.
and this is for people who've not been coming in and, working with the system through the testing. You're seeing this, many of you are seeing this for the first time, correct? And the lesson learned is that, so good question from Chrissy. Yes. Does there have to be a comment? No, the comment field is not required. Does the manager have to look into each day to view any speed type changes? Well, they can, but we're giving you a query that you can share with the manager about any speed type changes. And that's where I'm going to get into fairly quickly.
Share back.
Right. Any questions on the time approvals and how critical it is for you to do the time? I'm just going to show Shannon, do you have the calendar that we've been working with? The
Yeah,
checklist I can get into. There's a calendar that we've been working with. Huh?
Somebody asked me, are we doing it?
If somebody wants to see the actual calendar. Right. So I'm going to show you just a normal Outlook calendar and how the processing will take place, let's say, for a typical payroll period, right? So if you take the calendar here, and I'm going to expand this so that you don't see anything else. Oh, okay. I'm trying to walk you through the cadence of events that get you to the point where your group is done with the current payroll, and Paula, the AOS payroll group takes over, right? So in this case, let's say the last payroll in GIAC is going to be April 30th. The first payroll in PeopleSoft is going to be the payroll ending May 14th, which I believe is payroll, 10? When you're processing, the events of the 14 days will be like this. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of the off week, I would recommend that you guys look for exceptions every single day. I'm going to give you a query for showing you what the exceptions are that the employee will see. You can see the exceptions online by searching on your business unit. You can see the exceptions through queries, questions coming up. You can see the exceptions through queries, but this is where you will be doing a lot of that work. We are asking people, and I don't know if this recommendation is going to be taken seriously, but we hope it is. We're asking people to save time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, submit time on the Friday. And why are we saying that? Is because we have built rules to automate the calculation of straight time overtime and straight time premium overtime, straight time comp and premium comp for the whole FLSA week. The FLSA week starts from Sunday the 1st, which is the beginning of the pay period, goes all the way to the Saturday, which is the end of the pay period. If you have a completely different schedule, your FLSA week cuts in into the middle of the schedule in a different way. The second week of the FLSA schedule starts on the 8th and goes all the way to the 14th, which is the end of the pay period. Okay. So time admin will run every day of every night of the pay of the off week. I'm calling this the off week. And also every night of the second week, the payroll processing week, well, the second week of the pay period, every night. On Fridays, there is some talk about increasing the frequency of pay of the time administration runs on Friday the 6th and Friday the 13th. That's still, out in discussion phase. We haven't talked about running it any more frequently, but we might need to be able to see the payable time that the fiscal officers will want to see, that your line managers will want to see, to be able to make sure time is kosher, time is able to move to, PeopleSoft, payroll for North America, and the payable time matches the reported time, that every one of their, reported time has been gone over to payable time. So that is something that you will need to do every day. It's not a great thing to do, but it's core. You don't want to bunch up this validation on the Friday or the Saturday. My recommendation is to run the queries that we've created for you. How many people have reported time? How many people have payable time for the Monday or the Tuesday or the Wednesday? Does anyone have exceptions? Does the quantity that you've got in reported time transfer over to match the quantity that you've got in payable time? So if you look at that, that is something that you can do every day to minimize the amount of work you will be doing at the end of the week. Make sense? And this is a kind of a discipline or a regimentation that I want to get into, so that when Friday comes and you've got your project managers asking you how much overtime is going to be charged to my project, you have that answer because you have been looking at payable time every day of the week, and by Friday, time administration should have enough data of reported time for the whole week to be able to calculate the overtime for that week, what is premium and what is straight overtime. And the same thing with comp time. So is that making sense? Any doubts, any questions? When will we get the list for to recommend? We're getting there, Katie. I know there's been a few questions on the queries. When are they going to be getting it? We've got a list of the queries and who runs them, and we'll walk them through. They're already in this work center, but the work center access has to be given to them, for them to be able to see the queries, right? I'll walk you through the queries, and the project leadership will let you know when you can have access to the actual queries. So, but is there any question on the timeline I've explained so far for the time period? In the middle, we have things like the in-dot file coming in. You'll have the Cody DNR file coming in. So all of those will also be coming in to add to the reported time that you have here. But for most of you, your bread and butter will be to make sure that the reported time and the payable time match and there are no exceptions. So when you come to the Thursday here, the 12th, that's when the payroll processing will really start, because by the batch, and we've got a whole heavy-duty checklist for the payroll group to look at. But one of the things that they will be doing is they will be running the AOS. They're going to be running something called the pre-sheet audit on Thursday. The AOS group will come to you on Friday to say, we're having all kinds of data issues with respect to the employees in your group. So they might come to you with missing tax information, missing federal tax information, missing, what else are we getting? Missing benefits information for your employees. While you are looking at reported time and payable time, you'll also be, answering the questions that come from AOS payroll, correct?
Yeah.
And that will be a continuous, throughout the 20th, that will be, throughout the 13th rather, that will be what you do. Once the pre-sheet audit is taking place, this on the 16th is where we said that all time will be entered by 5 p.m. It's still the deadline, because, the grace time is still what you have now. By 5 p.m. on the Monday of the payroll processing week, your employees should be done with time entry. On Tuesday, the 17th, in this particular calendar, your line managers should not have that list of pending approvals that we just saw. They should all be approved, and they should have gone through time administration. We will still be running time administration to create payable time on the 16th and the 17th. But one thing the things that are not happening now in time and labor is the way that they will transfer over to pay sheets. That will happen on Tuesday night around midnight. Around midnight, you need to be fairly done with your validations. Your validations should have taken place all over this week and all over this week. And by the time you get around to by 5 on the Tuesday too, right? So by 5 on the Tuesday, we want to make sure that all time is approved, because there will be a lift into payroll on Tuesday night and a load into pay sheets also by Wednesday morning. There will be one load for the super enthusiastic agencies which actually get the time done on Monday. There will be one load on Monday night why are we doing all of this? There are quite a few things that AOSP or payroll has to be doing over the course of their week. Their payroll processing week is very tight. It'll go from the 16th, assuming they start looking at bad data on the Thursday, the 12th, they only have until the Friday, the 20th, to get all of the paychecks validated from the system. So this is the timeline that you'll be working with. And what are you going to be working with respect to timeline? I'm going to walk you through some of the queries that you've got that you should be looking at as a payroll group. Before I do that, Erica, is there anything else that we are missing from a deck perspective that I might have just inadvertently forgotten?
I do not think so, Shuba. You touched on, you're sharing your screen.
Yeah.
I think that you touched on everything.
I'm not draining the whole process of time administration, because I don't think any of the agencies will retain access to runtime administration the way they do now. We showed them all about the time summary, the weekly time summary, the approval page, all of that we've shown.
And let me just explain real quick how today, when you guys send your pay file to the auditor's office, it's your whole entire agency at one time that comes over, right? And we load that time into the current GX system. In the future, it's no longer a whole agency at a time. Anybody whose time has been approved and time admin has ran and pulled it into payable time, it's sitting there, and when we load that time, it gets pulled into payroll. So some of your employees will get pulled in maybe on Monday or Tuesday, and then any stragglers on Wednesday, perhaps.
And we're literally keeping the Wednesday for the stragglers, because throughout this period, there'll be AOS payroll will be running reports, registers, and queries to make sure, quite a few things to make sure that employees have don't have less than 75 hours or less than their schedule, that they have been paid they've reported their full schedule of and that they have that they will get paid for the entire payroll period. Let me pause there for a second. Missy, just so they don't keep hearing my foghorn the whole day, you want to walk through the queries while I just point the queries to them in the work center?
Yeah.
So you can go to the work center. I can stop sharing just to be able to get some vibes in, right? Different voices, different pieces of knowledge.
So do you want me to tell them which ones they would basically be doing the most, running the most? All right, let me get there.
They'll introduce you to the query topic, and then I'll come back. Erica, keep me honest here. When are we planning the break? Is it 2:30 or 2:45?
I was looking at between 2:30 and 2:40.
Okay, so we'll just give Missy a few minutes to expose them to the queries, and then we'll run them and show them when they will be running those. And in this new system, well, some of your queries have been upgraded into 9.2, but we have a lot more for you to do in terms of
Can you,
your screen.
yeah, can you see my screen?
No. Oh, there you go. I can see it now.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna go into your home, and then again, down to Workforce Administrator. Then you're gonna go to Time and Labor Work Center. Okay, so then you can, over to the left, if you click down on these queries, SOI 9.2 queries, these are the queries that are currently in the system or in the work center for you to run. And I'm trying to get down to show all of these.
Just click on SOI 9.2 queries, and then everything comes through.
Yeah. So the active employees no reported time, this is like a missing time report. You have active time reporters that do not have any time in the system. So that when you run this query, and there's prompts on all of it, so it's just exactly like the other one. You're gonna do the day before the pay period begin date. So if the pay period started on March 6th, you're gonna put March 5th. And then the day after the end, that way you can have the whole pay period. And you're gonna go, instead of the 19th that it ends, you're gonna grab the 20th and hit view results. But it's gonna show you the same information that you had in the 9.1 query. So this is gonna be one-year cleanup queries. Then the next one down is the active employee not in TNL. So these are, again, active on job, but they're not active time reporters. So and you'll want to run this every day, because you will have hiring people. You know, your agency could have hired or term people. So you want to run these queries more often than you did in 9.1, because all your information is going to come from these queries. So you want to run these daily. And then your TL Impl data max row, this is going to give you the max effective data row information from the maintained time reporter, which is what TL Impl data means. So this will give you the max effective date. So you're going to get all the information for each of the employees. You're going to get their latest work group, their latest, if they're an SOI task, SOI profile, all that stuff. So you're going to get all that information from this query. And you can run this daily, you can run this by pay period. The two at the top, you definitely want to run daily. Impl data task profiles account. And I'm going to run this one so you guys can see what it's going to look like. Well, maybe.
It was cute. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, that just gives me the information right like that.
Yeah, slide to the right,
Yeah.
and you should be able to see the task profiles they're assigned to, which is the combo code or, speed type they're assigned to. Slide to the right some more, and it will show you all of the default. You remember I kept on stressing the default. So this gives you a sanity check to understand, have you been assigning the task profiles correctly to your employees in the default? But we also have payable time and reported time, which shows you similar information. So that is something that you'll want to run at least at the, the task profile, you probably want to run it once in the beginning of the pay period, because I don't think you're going to be making changes during the
Not
pay
in the
period
middle,
now.
okay, right.
No. Will the queries default to your assigned agencies or statewide, and we will need to filter? Yes, ma'am, you will need to filter. We're giving you a BU prompt. So maybe we can pull up one of the queries that are showing by the BU prompt. We'll give them a 10-minute break to, just to get them to eat. And we'll come back, because we'll probably go on till 4:30, but we'll set aside some time for questions.
Okay, so I'm just gonna grab 050. Okay, maybe I'll grab a bigger agency.
Why is, there you go.
Okay, so here's DNR, for instance. You have your business unit, your company, your pay group, the person's PeopleSoft ID and employee record number, the name, the effective date from job, the department, the position, are they active on the HR status, meaning job data, pay status if they're active, and this gives you the FLSA status and the employee type. So each one of these will most likely run by either business unit or date range, combination of both. If you leave it blank, it'll run it for all. We've tried to think of every combination that we can think of for you guys to get the information that you need. So you want me to keep going, or do you want a break?
I think we'll call a break. It's 2:30, bottom of the hour. So do you guys want to come back at 2:40? Everybody's nodding their head vigorously, so come on.
I know.
Really? You just had a lunch break. Okay. A flurry of thumbs up. We'll come back at 2:40, guys. Thank you. Thank you. I get the point. Thank you.
All right, everybody, it is 2:40. Is everyone back in the room?
We are here, Erica.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for the thumbs up. All right, and I think Melissa, you are sharing your screen right now. I want to pass it back over to you guys, and Shuba, go ahead and kick us off because I believe this is the last go around in the training.
That is true. So we're going to be talking about the do's and the don'ts, when you do it, what you do, why you're doing it in the new world, and given the new timeline, Missy is going to show you some of the critical queries, and I'm going to show you the whole list of queries you've got in your work center, and who will be, some of the things that you have to run for chart fields. So Missy, you want to pick it up?
Yeah. So far we have done the active employees, no reported time, active employees not in time and labor. So you have your people who you need to enroll, which is, and then you have people who didn't enter any time. And then the next one you'd want to look at is who didn't submit any time. So we're going to look at reported time not submitted. You're going to put your business unit number in here. The from date and to date, which is the pay period. So we're going to go March 6th to March 19th. See if we have anybody here who didn't submit their timesheet. And it's still running. It shouldn't take that long. And then do this again. Might have just messed it up by doing that.
Which query are you trying to run?
I was trying to run the reported time not submitted query. But it just kept going and going.
Yeah.
So,
Might want to select a small, so the thing is, we're looking for saved or, reported time which is saved and not submitted.
yeah.
It's possible we don't have too much of that left, but we can try.
Okay,
So maybe we can go back to, Shannon, you want to just enter a transaction and save it? And then we can run it for 50, which shouldn't be too long.
just a timesheet, for, well, we just ran 360, try 320. I'll just run it for 320.
And just save it, though,
Yeah.
without submitting it.
And what date did you enter it? On the 20th? Or, okay. All right, so just going to pick, March 20th. Oh, it's April. Okay, that's no big deal. And then I'll just do it for a couple of days in here. So I'll go to the 23rd, just so it'd be a little quicker. Then you click on the view results. And again, this is the report or the query that took the time of unsubmitted time. So you know this employee's entered time, they just haven't submitted it.
Sure, there's 75 hours.
Yeah. You did just save it, right? Okay. And it's still spinning.
Yeah, that's, I'm wondering. But you're typing in 422, 423?
420 and 2022, because that's the dates that Shannon entered.
Okay.
So I just wanted to grab something smaller.
I don't know why it's taking this long.
There we go. So it's going to give you a line for each of the days. So she has entered regular hours, 7.5 for the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So this is the same information. It'll tell you the manager ID, the manager name, the position number that Shannon reports to. So you're still getting the same information that you did on the 9-1 query. So then once you see who has submitted time, now you want to look at, okay, which manager has an approved time. So you're going to go to reported time, not approved. Again, you're going to enter your from date. And I don't know if this is going to give me any. I will look. And then in this one, you can enter your business unit number. AOS can enter it all, leave it blank for all business units. So here are the lines for some of Paula's people that have not been approved yet. And you can see that it'll give you the company, the group, the business unit, the work group, the department, location, FLSA, the employee ID, the name, and it's going to give you each line of the timesheet. So you may have this report, it's just like the one in 9-1, you may have 80 lines, but it's really, truly only 8 people, most likely. So you have your supervisor ID, when they reported it, what time reporting code they used, and the number of hours. I don't know what that was. And then this is something that's new though, because you have the supervisor or the, did I lose it?
It went to beautiful sand dunes though.
Let me know when you can see it again. Oh, good, good. Okay, so this is something a little different now. On the previous one in 9-1, we had the supervisor ID, but we all know that just because the supervisor was listed on there, that's not exactly where the timesheet was routed for approval. So in 9-2, we came up with where if there was a delegation in place, then it also gave you that person's user ID. So now you know where the timesheet is delegated to or where it's routed to. So here's the supervisor or delegated approver. There's the description, the supervisor ID, and the supervisor name.
Nice little enhancement, I guess.
Yes,
Mhm.
that should make almost everybody happy on that. Okay, so now we know who didn't approve time. So now we're going to go, well, you said you wanted to talk about the unprocessed time and stuff like that, right,
Yeah.
Shuba?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
So you can go ahead and, if you want to talk about that.
Right, so still, I'm gonna answer the question that came out of the chat, is there, a job aid or a query listing? Yes, we do have that, and I'm going to find out where we have that, the completed list. But, we can post that as well. The one that we were, completing with Courtney's, input.
Group.
That's not the time and labor ones. So let's go back to the calendar for a second, and let's remind ourselves about what we did when we did it. I'm going back to the go live calendar, and we are saying that Monday through Friday here. Okay, can you all see my screen? I'll start
No,
sharing.
yeah.
Apologies. Thank you, Missy, for that great
You're
little expo. And it looked like everyone was happy with the queries. So on this week, right, 2, 3, 1 to 7, and 8 to 14, depending upon what the schedules are, we said that time will be reported every day. Time admin will be running every day, unless there is a really enthused manager who's going to be approving the time every day. There really will be no payable time for you to look at, but you can run the reported time and the payable time by the chart fields, query that Missy showed you every day. On the Friday, you should be running those. You should be running the one, the query which says, and let me take over the workforce. Let me go into the system sharing. I just want to stop sharing the calendar. And on Friday the 6th and on Friday the 13th, which is the 2 Fridays, and also on the Monday and Tuesday of the 16th and 17th, what you should be doing is you show them the exceptions query?
No, I did not show them exceptions yet.
Okay, so they should be seeing the reported time query, the payable time query, the exceptions time query, and are we giving them access to run the pay earnings to account code query also? So that once it's loaded to timesheets, they can take a look at what's on Payline?
I don't, whatever you and Courtney came up with.
Well, I think she wanted them to be aware, but that she's more the fiscal officer rather than the agency payroll. But it's possible that agency payroll is the link between the employee and line manager and the fiscal officer, right? You see it that way?
Yeah.
Right, because you guys are going to be in the system all the time running these queries. So what I will do is to go look at some of the ones that tell you danger, and excuse me, that'll be. So you'll all have access to the workforce administrator and the time and labor work center where Missy was just a second ago. And here, what happened? Don't tell me. I don't seem to have the time and labor work center. If I'm attached to you.
I have it, don't take it from me.
Yeah, I'm just looking for this. See, here you go.
Well, that's weird.
Isn't that? Because I was there yesterday. Okay, Missy, take back the share and then just go back to the workforce administrator. We'll run the exceptions report and I'll talk you through that. For some reason, I've lost the Time and Labor Work Center. Yep, I'm stopping sharing.
Oh, no, I pick a screen. Okay, now tell me when you can see it.
Right.
Okay, so you wanted me to go to which one?
The one for exceptions,
Okay, the TL exceptions.
right. And you can run it for DNR 00300. This exceptions for them, and it's mostly to do with mostly to do with the invalid project ID.
Do you see this message I'm getting? This query is set is too large right now.
Yeah, it looks like you have a lot of exceptions. So does it allow you to filter by?
There's no filter on this one.
It
Not
doesn't
on
matter.
this
It's just a
screen.
warning. Just run it. Just say okay and run it, and we can show them examples of what exceptions they will be seeing and what they will have to do to fix it.
Are you seeing the screen? Because when I click on exceptions, all I get is that. When I hit OK, there's nothing.
Okay, I'm not able to get to the work center, but I can still show you the same.
I mean, I could
Query.
go to Query Manager and run
Yeah,
it.
let's
Okay.
do that.
Okay. So,
Yeah, just hit the run, and then we'll just show them examples of what is there. And it looks like there are a lot of exceptions. Just say do okay.
yeah.
So if you look at this, guys, you're getting, look at the number of rows you're getting with invalid project ID. What that is saying is not, so just to situate you with this information, right? In the new world, you're going to get your project IDs coming to you coming to the HCM system from finance to the integration broker. So whatever is going to be healthy and active in HCM would have come from finance. There could be an issue, and I'm working very closely with the finance team to make sure this doesn't happen. And the finance team is working with the tech team to make sure that if any chart field, like a project chart field, is inactivated, it's going to be inactivated as at the pay begin date of the next payroll period, and there is no mid-period activation. Remember, you guys are at the cold phase. You're at the front of it. You're on the front of the battle lines. You're going to be supporting the employees' enter time against speed types, task profiles, and a lot of accounting information. And you're also going to make sure that the defaults are okay on the maintain time reporter data page. So when you see the thing which says invalid project ID, you should be escalating that to your project manager for that particular project, or escalate it just to the finance manager and say, hey, can you figure this out? In 9 cases out of 10, it's not so much the project ID has been invalidated, it's just that the employee is not valid for that project team. So we've got delivered validations because some of the agencies are enforcing teams, but regardless of which agencies are enforcing or not enforcing teams, there is PeopleSoft high severity validation being turned on for invalid projects. So what you might do then is to talk to the finance manager and make sure that this employee that they would have given you the speed type to use. So they should know that the speed type includes a project ID, which is invalid for the employee. And it's up to the finance department to make sure that the project teams has been updated with the information of the people, all of the people who are going to be included. You may not get this with an existing project person, but if there's a new hire who's supposed to work on this project, this BKL GRD F21, then, but he's getting this exception, that means he or she is not part of the project team. So the way the system is going to work is that we are not manually entering anything in HCM when it comes to financial information. We're cleaning up the stream of data so that any time and labor information is actually selecting on the timesheet what has come from finance in the first place. So we expect that stream of data to be valid in finance. And when the employee selects it, we're making sure that it's valid, that the speed type or task profile they are selecting is valid for the business unit they're selecting. And then when we run it through time administration, that washing machine process, we're also making sure that if something should happen that invalidates the time, there are exceptions which is making this time invalidated, then what you should do, you should be able to catch it on before it gets to payable time, before it loads to pay sheets. The sequence of events is employee enters time, manager approves the time, time administration runs, and parses out the speed type entered by the employee on the timesheet into the individual chart fields, which are made up of fund, department, program, chart field 2, chart field 3, project, activity, resource type, resource category, every one of those things that make up your speed type. Payable time will pass it out and show the individual chart fields the way they are. Now, this exception is telling you two things, because during testing we made some of these allowable, and we need to get some feedback from the state leadership whether some of these can continue to be allowable in the sense we can get payable time created for them. If there is no payable time, if there is a high severity exception, so this is as important as me telling you that people have to enter time to be paid. It's as critical, because if you can enter time and be wonderfully satisfied that your time is entered. If there is no payable time, nothing's going to pay sheets. Yes? So if the payable time is blocked by a high severity exception, then you have a problem, because that time is not going over to payable time. And if it's not going over to payable time, it won't go to payroll, it won't get calculated, it won't be part of your paycheck. And that might be just one transaction, it could be the whole payroll period. And a lot of that is going to come from this guy here, which is basically, which is basically the exception reporting bucket that you've got here. So what I'm going to do is to take back the share and look at all of the kinds of exceptions that we have turned on for this is part of the system changes. I didn't dwell on it too much in the beginning of the webinar, but some of the things that you can watch out for, please. And I can put this, we do have a query that actually shows some of the triage methods. I can share that also with you all. So and I know that we probably need to run a query for this, right? So see where there's validation criteria. I'm not sure you'll have access to do that. But the validation set, if you look at that, the validation set we're using that's going to be invoked by payroll by the time administration process, every time it runs, is this one it says SOY GMIS. Now, if you look at, if I do a view all, this left-hand side panel shows you all of the validations that have been turned on for the system processing in time and labor. Inactive time reporter status, I'm not sure, and inactive, you'll get this if there is one of those weird things that Pam was talking about where employees inactivated but too early reported time out there, you'll get this inactive time reporter, invalid task group. I would expect this to not happen if you're going to be creating task groups online. But if you're going to be loading task groups from an Excel template, then you might get some gremlin going in there, a character or something that's different. And for example, you want to show 0050, but somebody fat fingers it and puts 0051. It won't actually get caught if you do it online, but if you get it through a back-end load, that might happen. An invalid task profile might be something that's coming from in dot maybe or Cody, and something is assigned to a task profile, but it's not attached to a task group. Task profile not in task group, there you go, there's another one of those. Then task values required, that's not required. For you, who can tell me where in the system we are controlling what is required and what is not?
What's required and what is not.
On the timesheet, where are we controlling that? Huh? Somebody has an answer, I think. You can unmute if you know the answer. You remember we talked about the task template way back when? And in the task template, we said that we are only making combo code and the business unit required. Not even required, they're available on the timesheet. But if you remember the task template, which had all of those not used, not used, not used, we basically turned off all of those. Now, should any employee try to insert a department or a program or a product online, they won't even see those fields because we turned off those fields on the task template. But if something is being fed through a TCD or an external load of any kind, a payment load of any kind, then you might find somebody charging time into the timesheet table, that what we call the reported time table, a department, a program, or a product, or a location. We turned off all of those. The system will see that as an invalid task value, and that's what you will get that. A CF code or a chart field code or combination is basically a speed type, and it means somebody has done something on the finance system. Remember, I told you there's going to be a regular traffic of information coming from financials over to HCM, and the speed types are going to come from there. We have processes to make sure that all of the tables that are driving the different views in HCM are populated with the correct chart field code. But what will happen if in the middle of the pay period, let us say, somebody has diligently gone in and entered the time against the chart field, and he's done it every day for the week, but on maybe Friday, somebody in finance goes in and inactivates a chart field for the week that's just gone. If that happens, that speed type is going to be deleted from the speed type table in HCM, because the connection between financials and HCM will say that this speed type is no longer valid in the speed type table in financials. I'm going to go and delete it in that same row from the HCM table. And there are downstream, this is the speed type connection. But the speed types, which is just a combination of chart fields, are also copied over into the valid combo and account code tables, which are specific to HCM and which drive all of those validations. So if there is a chart field inactivated in financials and the reported time and payable time still charging to those combo codes, you're going to get this invalid chart field or combination. Then PC business unit, very similar, same thing, because, somebody has charged time to it, but the business unit has been inactivated in financials. And you see the same deal here, invalid product, invalid task. This cannot be done online. You cannot, because they're no longer opening out those fields for you. But should any transaction be loaded and it's coming against that, because somebody is used to charging it in 9.1, it's getting populated in 9.2, the system will error you out and make it a payable time, invalid payable time, and it gives you an error on the system. Then where I say TL tasks, all of those are invalid. They're not going to be used anymore. And then what do we have? Invalid project ID, we looked at that a little bit. Invalid resource category, invalid resource type. All of those will happen only if there is a timing issue where you've got, time charge to any of these chart fields, but somebody has gone in and inactivated some of this in financials. These are the big ones. I can't think of position number. There's only if you will be charging time to positions. And then again, invalid values for task template. We're getting a lot of that. During the system testing, we got a lot of that because originally people had expected all of their combo codes to be, all of the task templates to allow for things like job code, business unit, department, company, location, and all of those things. That used to be available in 9.1. In 9.2, on the task template, remember, we turned it all off. It's no longer available. But if there is any reason why this person would be getting this information in from an external system, then you're going to have the issue. Invalid comp rate code, I think it's because of the different companies to which it's attached. I have to figure that out. So, okay. It basically tells you whether the comp rate code is attached to the comp plan is attached to a comp code, which you are entitled to, is available to you from both the compensatory time plan and the TRC program. So if Joe Garcia is working in I can't think of any agency, Paula, Brent, Sally, which is not going to be allowed for comp time going forward. They, under the policy, whatever you call the policy, yeah.
They don't do comp time.
At all?
DOT doesn't.
Some agencies don't
Right.
Participate in comp time plans. There are special situations with holiday comps that the governor sends out that an employee gets to choose that. So some may not have any comp time at all, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't be eligible at some point.
Right. So we still have to give them the access to do that. So if they were deemed ineligible originally, we are attaching everybody to a comp plan. Should there be a new employee, he's not been assigned to a comp plan, but he's trying to enter the CERN-B code, it's going to bomb because he might have access through the TRC program and the work group to the comp plan, but he's going to get an error because he's not valid as a comp plan. Yeah, he doesn't have a comp plan assignment. And some of these are the same, they're getting duplicated, which I can figure out why. Invalid rule element, we're only turning on 3 and 5. So any other attempt to make any rule element valid on the timesheet will get an error. Then invalid state, invalid task group, they're not going to be, you're not going to be entering task groups. We've hidden that from you. Quantity must be 0. That's when you've got a rule which says, establishes that a particular time reporting code has got a quantity of 0. That's not very relevant to you, but we are turning on in case somebody accidentally leaves a day as 0. Okay, any questions about exceptions?
That was a lot, Shubha.
I rattled through that in about 20 minutes. So, but what we can do is on the same chat thread, give you a list of all of the exceptions there are and what is valid for the state of Indiana based upon the updates to the system, and then also the list of queries that we've got out there. They have the list, or do they not have the list?
Not yet, well, it's in the work center, but some of them haven't seen it yet.
Okay. So any questions? So when will you be running the exceptions? My plea is, since we are running time admin every day, and we are telling people, we're telling you, and we're telling other people to make sure time is reported every week and submitted. We're telling managers to approve the time every week and submit it, which is the 13th and the 6th in this case. And when they do, make sure that there are no exceptions and that it's all hunky-dory. So in this current situation, we were getting issues with respect to one person whose comp plan was not updated with the employee's information.
And the sooner you run your exceptions when employees start entering time, the quicker you can start trying to resolve those with finance.
So I do have a full query listing, and somebody was asking for that. What I don't have is, if you look at the different queries here, what you were looking at just now, we've got 107 plus queries here. What I'm going to refine that is filter, no, not filter by category. And I'm going to select
_TL.
Yeah, 92. All right. So that's 33 queries. Those are the ones that Missy showed you. We talked about, these are the ones, and we've done this exercise for some of them. They've not run the exercise for every one of them. So if you look at the information that I've got here for you, it looks like the query, we've said that the reported time chart fields run it every day, and just run it past your poor fiscal officer. You know, he might have some different ideas about what your employee should be charging the time to, for speed time reporters especially. And then run it past your, your IT manager, your fiscal officer again. If there are payable time chart fields which are getting an error, like, the payable time, what do we get? We got the high severity exception with respect to chart fields, with respect to project ID, with respect to business unit. We got a few of those, right? So this is where it is coming from the time and labor default. What do you do in those cases? So
all of these, Sheba, are not in the work center, correct? They'll have to go out to.
I
Where
don't
you
think
use that.
so. I don't think so. So I went to exceptions. I want to segue back to the work center. And I can't see the work center. Great. No, I don't think all 33 are in the work center. So what Missy showed you were the most important ones, but I can just socialize everything with you. This is something that the finance team is going to need. May not be something that they run every day because they don't know when your employees are going to be running, entering time and submitting time. But, and I've said here, agency fiscal officer or agency payroll to identify which reported time is exploding to other chart fields. So that's something you want to do as a sanity check. And then this one is payable time chart field distribution. We showed you that. This one is payable time by pay period end date. If you want to just track payable time for, just to find out what the payroll hours are, to make sure that you're not missing out on anything that you can do. ISP, LEOBT, this is specific to Pam Douglas and her group. They are, when they are entering, I told you that this police group is going to be one of the few groups that can enter overtime, but they don't have the OBT code. They've got the LEOBT code. So what they will do is to put LEOBT on the timesheet and submit. But when they submit, the system will validate to make sure that the police is valid for the. It will check. There's an online query which is going to look at LEOBT and which is going to see if LEOBT, that the speed time that the employee has attached to LEOBT has a project. If there is no project, that transaction is not going to go through, and it's just going to be sitting in an invalid overtime on the timesheet. It's not going over to payment time, correct? And then this is a listing of all active projects and BUs. This is more like ISP, DWD, DNR would run. It shows all of the, active projects in the system. It also, it also shows you the employee on the teams. It goes against the teams, I think. And this is the distributed, what this does is probably not run by you all. It's going to be, even though it's got a DL project time. Courtney, if you're there, feel free to chime in. The distributed and diluted information, they don't need that. The agency payroll doesn't need that, right? I don't think we did that. I think we said agency finance. So let me just look at those that are going to be run by you. And I'm going to basically remove all of that. I'm going to remove, bear with me, I'm going to remove all the filters and filter again. We spent some marathon sessions fine-tuning these queries. So the ones I've got are agency finance, agency fin and payroll, agency payroll, AOS payroll, we don't need that.
Yes. Oh, no. They're not on that center. And query manager they are. Yeah.
And although I showed you a big list of everything that was not, that is showing as SOI 92 _ TL, I don't think you need to run every single one of those. You probably need to run these guys here. And some of them are very agency specific. Missy showed you the employee task profile template, employee data task profile. I don't think you will be running this, but maybe some of you double up as agency finance team members. This is going against the commitment accounting, which is really accounting, helping with the accounting. You will be running this because you want to know the project team details. So what this does is you want to make sure that if you get an exception, like this high severity exception, which is basically telling you that this employee is not part of a project, it's going to give you an invalid project. So this query lets you know who's part of what project. This is the project team query. Now, I've also got some of these marked to agency payroll. I think they're more finance than payroll. I'll check with Courtney. It might be something that we said. The distribution, we don't expect this group to be doing anything with the post PSPP fund right now. We're not going to be doing that. So this is a misnomer. Sorry. If there is a question, we can barely hear you. Is there a question out there? Sorry. Okay. So these go against the in the process that you're going to be supporting, guys. Some things happen after your time is entered by the payroll, right? By the employee, approved by the payroll, the line manager, and validated by you and validated by the fiscal officers. But once that happens, what you will do is once it loads to pay sheets, one of the queries that we've got for you, and it's coming in under SOI 92PY, and we want them to have this, right, Paula and Shannon? This is the earnings account mapping.
Earnings account mapping, I think that is.
So where you've got things like, you've got the payable time and chart fields query, right? When it transfers over to, when Shannon or Paula run the load to pay sheets, they're going to be loading the payable time to pay sheets. You want to make sure that the pay earnings has got the account codes from payable time. Is that something that you guys will be running? And just asking them if there is, questioning them if there is something.
Sin is running it, right?
Sin is running it, but payroll is also going to run it to make sure that there are no bad, the contradictions between business unit and speed types. You want to make sure that is there, right?
We will.
Okay. So I think payroll will run that. AOS payroll will run that. Agency payroll will not run that earnings one. 2 online reports that I just want to show you that you can run on the Fridays. Are there any questions? I'm seeing a buzz.
I think we're trying to answer them all here.
Okay.
I do have a question myself. Who certifies or signs off on the payroll? Like right now, I've got payroll bringing me the paperwork and then I sign off as an agency signing off fully. Is that a workflow in the system for a final sign off?
Well, a lot of those things are you sign off on forms that are going away that were like HR data, like AP 63's got salary changes or new hires, and all those things are going into PeopleSoft through HR.
Okay.
That makes sense. So but it's good to go, we can go through that inventory, that list, and then just confirm that with Board of Accounts beyond those different forms.
To make sure that they're comfortable with all
Yes.
of that?
Yep.
We haven't done that yet, though.
We've met with them, but we haven't gone
Okay.
through that checklist.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So, any questions on the calendar and the events? So we're saying that your busiest time on the first payroll, if you take that as an example, would be the first Friday, the second Friday, the Monday, and the Tuesday. Anything else you guys can think of that the agency payroll will need to do? We have to get into the registers that you need to share with them,
Yeah, after payroll runs.
right?
Yeah.
So after payroll runs, your duties will also include looking at some of the registers. The registers are not, at this point, keyed by business unit, filtered by business unit. So will you be running queries to give them the information?
There should be queries that were done to run.
Yeah.
Do we have those queries? That we don't have.
So for the queries are basically this pay earnings queries, pay deductions queries, pay tax queries, all of those they should be running, right? So I should introduce that also to them.
Yes, it's like the information that they currently can see now for me, that they're familiar with.
Okay, okay,
Register. Right, there will not be an alchemy anymore, so they will be running queries.
okay. Then I have to assume that the pay earnings query will be available to them, this group, the agency payroll group. Two things in time and labor I want to make sure that you're aware of is some of the reports that are available. Somebody asked about a report which shows schedule information. This report, as delivered by PeopleSoft, will show you schedule information, but it's not keyed by, it's not filtered by business unit. So you might have to search by employee. I'm going to time and labor, reports, and scheduled hour reports. If I run this, it's going to show me, you can run it by an employee. Let's say you can run it by an employee, you can run it by a dynamic group. Each one of you will have access to a dynamic group which covers pretty much all of the employees in your agency. That kind of access to data you guys will have. But if I, for example, I want to look at Shannon's schedule, I don't know who this person is, Kimberly Sund. And I'm going to say, what was the schedule for the pay period 03/20 to 22 to, what's the next one, 04/05?
Mm-hmm.
Or the April pay
April
period?
5th through the 16th, is that where you're at?
Yeah,
Yeah. April 3rd.
April 3rd, 3/20 to April 3. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about this one, 3/20?
Yeah.
3/20 to 4/2.
4/2. So this scheduled hours report will tell you what kind of a schedule this person is at, and you want to see the result. You can do it for the whole of your agency, guys, which is basically you just have to run it by the dynamic group, which matches your agency, or you want to check whether what schedule Kimberly was working during this particular pay period. That also can be done by accessing this particular report. If this shows you the schedule for all the employees in your business unit and all of the specified employees in this report, does that answer your question? I forget who asked the question about the scheduled hours. Okay, there are other questions on shared folder. Will there be a final calendar we can use for a reference? There should be. We'll have to create one.
Yeah, we're working
The
on
new
it.
sign, yes. AOS payroll is working on it, and do employees have to be on VPN to access PeopleSoft? Answer is yes. If you're not on the state network and don't have access to shared file, okay, for board member pay. Lots of other questions, so I think they've all been answered. The person was asking about the scheduled hours report. Oh, it's erroring out. Okay. So that is something that we can make available to you if that's going to suit you. I'll find out what's going on with that. Okay. But we do have a scheduled hours query. I'll add that to the list of the queries that you can run if that's going to be important for you to maintain because you're supporting absences. The two things that I want you to look at, actually, I want to show you, are two online reports. They're not queries, they're online reports. And I think you have, your roles have been, the agency payroll roles have access to run them. They are unprocessed reported time. And if I want to run it for, say, let me do it for business unit, 00000300. I can run it for, say, the same pay period, 320 to 4. We didn't confirm that, right? 320 to 42, or maybe I should choose another one.
The 320, 430.
I don't think that's got any data there. So let's do maybe what do we do before this? Just a start and end date of a pay period where there could be employees reported time but no payable time. I think we made very sure that all the reported time went to payable time. We were too efficient for our own.
We have the 3-5 open, but I don't know if you'll.
Okay.
If you would see that.
Okay, and the end of that pay period is the 19th, right?
3-5 is the ending. Yeah. It was 220 to 3-5.
Okay, 220 to 3.5. Oops. Yeah, that's still open. There's nothing for 300. Let me just see if there is anything. This is going into a swirl because I said all employees, any employees who's got reported time and no payable time, bring it up. This is a nice report for you. When you do your Friday morning validations, just to make sure you're carrying a burden on your shoulders, but just to make sure that people's time are getting to payroll, they're getting paid properly. So I want to make sure that you are running this just to get a sanity check of what reported time has not gone over to payable time. This will show you if something is still sitting in a saved status. Your query will also show that. So this guy, see, if you look at this guy, he's got 85 saved. And then he's got, but it didn't go over to payable time because it was not approved, it's not been submitted. Okay. Now these ones are probably a timing issue. These guys here have got approved and submitted an approved time, but they didn't go over to pay sheets, they didn't go over to payable time, very possibly because some of this activity was done after time admin has run. It has not been run up for them. When you see in process, up for processing, it means that they didn't go over to payable time correctly. Many of them are in dot or DNR. Very possibly some of it came from the TCD. Yeah, just checking with Missy.
Mhm.
There's a lot of that time here. There's a lot of, some of them for the SDA. So this report is a nice report for you to run. If you get something like this, you would just pull up that employee and say, hey, can you submit your time? It's Friday, and we want to make sure that we run the query to look at the overtime, the payable time, and the chart fields. The fiscal officers are asking you. So something like that, you probably need an interaction with the employees in question, right?
Mhm.
Otherwise, how would they know that they made a mistake? And if there is an approved report submitted time, it might be something that you want to submit, do they reach out to you? If they see this on a Friday and they know time admin is run on Thursday, then is it something your triage would be probably coming back in on the Monday and seeing if the Friday night time administration caught that and converted that into payment time. Because that is what this report is showing. The navigation for that is navbar, time and labor, viewed time, unprocessed reported time. Now, none of these payrolls have got time loaded to pay sheets. We used up a lot of that. I wonder if there is any time. This one will show you any payable time that was created for the payroll period in question. And in this case, I should get for the same pay period, get the same listing that I had for payable time, right? If it's not gone from reported to payable, it's not gone from payable to payroll. Make sense, everybody? So if I query of 320, what do we look at?
320 to 42.
But we also looked at 35 to 319, right?
3.5 was the end of the pay period. It was 220 to 3.5.
Oh, yeah.
Too many dates.
I know, my God. Right. So if I do this and I just do a swirl, let me do a swirl. It'll swirl for a few minutes. And then you're going to be filtering on your own business unit. And this is what I would do. I would really look at time reporting group for which you have access. And this shows only one employee because we probably caught as many people as possible. That's an ISP employee who why did he not go over to payroll? So that's something that you have to check on. He had payable time. It didn't go over to payroll, so that might be something you want to look at. And you see where it says, if you click on his name, it says rejected by payroll. So it looked like the upload process, I'm not going to drain the session on the upload process. It's not going to be owned by your group. It's going to be owned by AOS Payroll. The upload process will happen on the Monday night, the Tuesday night, and ad hoc on the Wednesday of the payroll processing week. I don't want to sort of confuse you by going into what all the stuff that one does, but when that process runs to load payable time to pay sheets, some of those were rejected by payroll because this person was terminated in the middle of the pay period, and we can check that. Your triage on the time and labor side, which you own, your triage would be to see what happened to him. Where is this invalidation coming from? And for everything in this integrated system, you will go back to job data and take a look. Am I going very fast? Is that understandable? Is everyone okay with what I'm delivering? I've been going at rapid fire. So he's been retired in the middle of the pay period, I think. No, he's been retired before the pay period, but it's possible that he had time.
His HR status is inactive, right?
Yeah, his HR status is inactive, payroll status is retired, but it's giving him payable time for the pay period. And I'm wondering if it's the time was entered in advance. But this is the sort of, yeah, right? It's a timing issue. But this is the sort of things, if you looked at the action, when the action was done, there is a nice little date you've got here. Okay, the date of this transaction created was 3/9. So he was retired after the fact. So this is your clue. You look at the effective date, you look at the action reason, and your triage will include the date created. If somebody in SPD has entered the termination after the time has been created, payable time has been created, it won't go to payroll because payroll will reject it. Now we're coming into a system where every module has a handshake moment with the next module. HR has a handshake with benefits, and time and labor, and absence management. Absence management has handshakes with payroll, like I showed you with the time reporting codes and the absence earnings codes, how the handshake occurs. Time and labor has handshake points, what I call integration points with absence management, and payroll. Payroll has handshake points with financials. So this whole integrated system has to work, but your piece, with 32,000 employees being time reporters, your piece will be to make sure that the time is correctly landed to payroll, handed off to payroll, and after this date, right, on the calendar where we've got where payroll processing takes place 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. On the 20th, would it be that you provide them with the registers to take a look at on the Friday?
The Friday that we're running,
Yeah,
um,
or the Monday?
probably the Monday.
So in all probability, on the Monday, the 23rd, you will be getting the payroll register, the payroll summary report, deduction register, deductions not taken. You'll have to find a way to slice and dice it so that you only look at your own people, or maybe queries. You do have access to queries, but they only call pay earnings, pay deductions, and pay taxes. You'll have to take a look at that. The other areas where when you have a pre-sheet audit, they'll be asked to, will they have access to look at the tax data? No, we'll send it to them.
If we see things in the auditor's office, payroll will reach out, just like we do today, on those
Right.
type of errors, and ask you guys to take a look at it.
Right. You heard Paula, guys? Okay. Is there a job aid that has a decision tree? If this happens, do this. Oh. Yes, there is a payroll checklist, but that's very payroll oriented, not so much time and labor oriented. The queries will have a triage column. I know is that the triage column has already been filled out. What do you do? Not every single thing. Let me just take out the filters. Some of that is very simple to do. Some of that is very simple to do, some of it is not, but we'll see what we can come up with on that document. Maybe it's something that JMIS wants to take a look at, and you can pull me into a meeting. When I say JMIS, I'm looking at you. Messy, because we need to have, I mean, not that the triage is not like, it's not an alien world, right? It's still something that is happening now, that is going to get translated into the new world.
Most errors, you'll be able to determine if they're finance related, you have to go to your finance team. If they're HR related, for something from job data, you're gonna have to go to your HR person. If it's specific payroll, we'll reach out to you and ask you, you know, for your help on what is right, if it's tax data or direct deposit data or something of that nature.
Anything else? I'm just going back to the presentation. Erica, can we just go through quickly the last section and see there's nothing else in the curriculum that we are ignoring? Then we'll just do a free form.
We should mention really quick, I don't know if we talked about it or not, but when we do take, the data from 9-1 and put it into 9-2, any future dated transactions in time and labor, whether it's for hours worked or any type of leave, will not be going into 9-2. Employees have to go in and re-enter that time. So if they have their schedule that just pre-populates and they think they don't have to go in that first pay period, they're gonna get a big surprise when they don't get a check. So they have to go in and re-enter that time. They have to go into absence management and enter the absences. And if they have pre-approved absences through whatever your agency's process is for that, and those absences are sitting on their timesheet today, they will not move forward. So they have to go in and request it in absence management.
And not all of you were involved in the testing, but the payable time view, if you're an employee or a manager, you can just look at payable time has been opened out to you. So you can do individually. We've given you a ton of queries and reports to run the payable time, right? But as a manager, you should be able to see any employees, any of your employees' payable time. Let us say small group. Let's say Brent wants to look at his down line, all of his direct reports payable time. He can just enter 00050. And you should be able to see a list of employees from, see that you got Jesslyn. Jess has got a bunch of payable time. I'm trying to figure out which one. This is enter time. I'm looking at the payable time, sorry. I was looking at enter time. The payable time filter, if you do 00050, I'm choosing AOS. It's got small number of people. Nobody has got. Doesn't look like there's any payable time out there. Let's just take somebody, Jennifer Allen. Look at, say, 23, 2022. What's the pay and date for that? And see if this person has got, for that pay period, it's showing online. This is the manager's view because I'm in team time. I'm a manager. I'm coming in like Paula or Brent and looking at team time. And it shows you the compensatory time earned, comp time, premium earned, additional straight time, says straight overtime, and regular time. Oops, what did I do? I won't do it again. And premium overtime.
Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. And then if you look at the detail for that 123 pay period, Jennifer Allen has got a bunch of payable time as well. And then the employee also has access to that view. So detail is not coming up. I don't know what's going on. adjourned.
Right. Are you running something?
Huh?
I just didn't know if you were waiting to run. I was gonna say, do we want to answer some of these questions?
Yeah, we can do that.
Jeff, you asked if there would be future training specific to leave adjustments and then the positive, negative adjustment. Any type of earnings that is unrelated to time or absences will be done on that PSHIP load, which is the new template for mass adjustments that you'll be sending us. And just so everyone's clear, that is the only type of mass adjustment you will continue to send to the auditor's office in 9/2. Only earnings. Everything else that you've been sending all these years is not really payroll. It's HR, benefits, leave time. So leave adjustments will be done in absence management. I believe they have job aids and computer-based trainings that'll be pushed out for everybody. Task completed via paper forms today outside of the new ESS. Do you mean paper, like direct deposits and tax forms? Is that what you're referring to, Jeff?
No, just like the ones you addressed.
Okay, because there are no more paper forms really in the future, with the exception of the items that will still have to be completed if employee self-serve is not going to be rolled out at Go Live, or at least that's what we expect as of now. So the same way that you send direct deposit forms and tax forms to us today, you will have to continue to do until ESS is launched for that. There will be a new direct deposit form because, as you all know, there's 4 options now. So we're working on redoing those forms. And the tax forms, I think today you probably just send the W-4 for the federal tax updates. You will also have to send the WH-4 along with the W-4 to the auditor's office until employees can do that themselves and employee self-serve.
Will you be sending out a schedule of when that spreadsheet, I forget what you called it, is due?
It needs to be in no later than Wednesday of the processing week. Same as today, right? When PayFake runs, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Melissa, you asked about training. Sort of. There's still computer-based trainings and also job aids that are being dropped out in the JAM site and SuccessFactors. I'm not sure if the computer-based trainings will be pushed out or if they're just out there for you to access. And then this presentation will be out there as well so that you can have the slides to review. What else? I don't see it, so you want to talk about it?
Those days to be loaded through absence management, additional personal days that you're hired will be loaded in through absence management, and state personnel should be included in their training, how that should occur when employees are hired.
Can you guys hear Brent?
No.
The 3, so Lisa Day asked about the 3 personal days. Those will be loaded through absence management in the future. If you have questions on that, you probably, I guess, should reach out to the absence management team at SPD. She also asked about removing balances for members. That is supposed to happen automatically. Yeah, the balance removals for not eligible for rehire, those balances are supposed to be removed automatically, I believe. And Sally or Lavinia or Ken, you guys can jump in if that's not correct.
Yeah, the 3 days, as far as I know, is the SPDs handling the on their side by manually added the 3 days to the employees' balance.
The adjust absence balance page is one that agency payroll has access to and should be included in setting up things like enrollment to absence and time management and things like that when you have a new employee, so that it is set up and available that first day.
How will they know if you're done payroll? Where is that at? There's been a couple questions.
Yeah, they just wanna know, once they get their queries clean, how's
Oh.
AOS gonna know?
Yeah, I replied back to that. I believe that, we're loading by 5 o'clock on Tuesday, it's the expectation that the queries are clean. So the time will be loaded, and we're all one integrated system now. It's just a handoff, right? You do your part and by this timeline, and we move on with our timelines. You should continue to, check your queries even after Tuesday. And then we'll have to talk about if you've missed the line in the sand on how to move forward with those adjustments.
I have a question regarding the 3 days of personal time that's front loaded. For agencies that work 40 hours a week, will that be loaded at 24 hours instead of 22 and a half? Or
No,
will
it
we
will not. The governor's executive order specified 22.5 hours.
Okay, then I need some clarification on that.
What additional clarification? It's 22.5 hours regardless of the employee's agency. That's what the governor's executive order said.
Okay, do you have the number of that executive order? I'd like to reference it, please.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
What about rate changes? How do those get put into the system?
It's the same way that you guys do them today, Kim, on the PeopleSoft side, right? Because comp rates are not anything that payroll will do in the future. Payroll will go out and pay whatever comp rate is sitting on the employee.
Is that a smart form or is
So-
it something HR data?
Have you been through any of the HR trainings yet?
Since the AP 63s are going away, how do we submit a rate change? I have offender workers where their rate changes, based on, and I have to do negative, positive adjustments. How do I do that?
How do you change that rate today in PeopleSoft 9.1?
AP 63 and a negative
Okay.
adjustment form.
The AP 63 comes to the auditor's office to update the rate in the current GX system, and that's going away. So on the HR side, whoever does that entry for you in PeopleSoft 9.1, that's who will do that entry in 9.2.
Okay.
And this group is state police? I mean, well, what group is that?
They're talking about, DOC, yeah.
Okay, then they'll be using Smart HR, right? Smartphones, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar yet with the Smart HR forms, but there should be HR training, I think, on the 26th. Is that what I heard earlier? So I assume they'll be talking about those Smart HR forms at that time.
Erica or Latoya, can you answer the question about the HR training? Is that a CBT?
Yes. The computer-based trainings for HR and the demonstrations, I spoke with Janetta last week, and those should be going out to the people that are supposed to be taking those, so that you should be able to find those on SuccessFactors. And we will be having a in-person virtual training via Teams on the 20th for agency HR and on the 21st for non-centralized HR.
Thank
Did
you
I
for
answer your
that.
question? You're welcome.
So guys, whoever is asking the question about the rate changes, make sure that your manager knows you're getting that training.
I will. If someone could just email me those dates or send them here so I can write them down again in the times, that'd be great.
I can put them in the chat.
Thank you.
And there was a question on if there would be training for brand new payroll administrators in the future. All the training that you're going through will also be available, that the state will own that training and to provide for new people coming in.
Still messages coming in. How will payroll make corrections to employees' time if they get approved for FML after payroll has been processed? So Lavinia, Sally, you want to get that?
Yeah, this
You'll
is
have to-
Lavina. They'll have to
Yeah.
submit a request to us and we'll have to go in and make those adjustments. And it'll be a retro process.
Yep.
How do they submit that request, Lavinia, do you know?
They can email us.
Okay.
Katie
Employee
Byers,
relations, state personnel.
Yep. I'm just trying to go down the list here. Do we know when ESS will be live for the direct deposit and tax changes? No, we don't have a date yet for that. Hopefully not too long after go live, but we can't confirm that yet. It depends on the security that IoT is working on. Will the recruiting manager now be? Tomorrow, I'm not sure. Your question was, will the approving manager now have access, or will this still be a payroll responsibility? Access, I'm not following your question. Enter the hours and absence management for LTD employees or person on option 3. Okay, I don't, that's around absence management at Lavinia, if you want to take that one.
I didn't hear that. I didn't see the question. Sorry.
Says, will the approving manager now have access, or will this still be a payroll responsibility on someone that's on LTD, I guess? I'm trying to find the rest of the question.
Well, it depends on, so LTD, if the employee is actually on LTD, in other words, they've moved to the LTD business unit, then we have an interface file that will be inbound, outbound from JWF to adjust any leaves that they might be using to supplement their disability benefits. So payroll or the managers won't have to do anything. If the employee is still on the agency payroll, entering a leave to be paid at 100%. So they're entering 5 days of leaves, then either the manager or payroll will have to enter those absences in absence management.
So
I'm
the
not sure if
manager
that
will
answers
have,
the question.
so the manager will have access to do it versus payroll, because right now, due to job data, once they go to long-term disability, even though they're being paid special sick at 100%, payroll has to enter those hours. Their approving manager doesn't have access to them because they're technically in a long-term disability status because of job data.
So they're in another business unit. But I don't know if they're gonna move them going forward. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to test that.
Okay, thanks.
Terry, you were asking about the holiday. Yes, you are correct. If they work on a holiday, they enter their holiday time as holiday, which would actually be defaulted on the holiday unless you need to move it. And then the actual worked hours as reg. That is correct. Kim, yep, I would assume that you'll be getting some invites for the future, trainings.
They've
on-
all gone out. They
Oh,
have
they've
all gone out.
they've gone out, so if you did not get
And she
one,
was on they've all gone out.
you should have those, Kim. If you don't, then I guess let us know.
Okay.
Am I missing anything?
Will the new system be keeping track of hours someone uses on FMLA? And Lavinia, the answer is yes, correct?
That is correct, yes. That's assuming
Do
they're
you-
entering it appropriately.
Right.
Sarah, you were asking about how employees put time in that doesn't have VPN access. How are they putting time in today? Are they,
The same way with the window or the manager.
they're either hitting a window or somebody is putting that time in on their behalf?
All of them are making sure to hit that window. So typically they do it, they try to do it on the window on Friday right now. So for them
That was,
to do it every day, like you guys are saying, that's where I'm trying to figure out how that works. Because right now their window is only the Friday at the end of the pay period.
yeah, I think there's gonna be some weekly windows, that we'll have to communicate out, until everything is resolved, and then everybody can get in, you know, at any time.
Oh, okay. Because I saw something about someone saying something about mobile or their a mobile device or something. So that's not something.
Well, you have to have, MFA in place to use your mobile device too, so, yeah, they'll have to continue to hit one of the windows.
Okay, so it's still just going to be a weekly window. Okay. That's what I
Hopefully,
needed.
a little more often. We're working on some timelines.
Yeah, I know right now it's like nobody can see their paychecks really. So I get emails all the time to send people like a printout of their warrant or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
not great.
Hopefully, it won't be too long after we go live that all of that'll be resolved.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So Paula, this is Lavina. Can I make a comment? Somebody mentioned special sick leave. And just for the group that we are not bringing over any special sick leave balances in the conversion. So that first week, if there's somebody that we know is using special sick leave, then that will have to be a manual balance adjustment in that first week so that they can use their special sick leave balances.
So there's a question from, thank you, Shannon, for answering Laura's question. Until employee self-service is live, tax and DD forms will be in the shared drive. There is one question, do we have a query to catch overtime and leave on the same week or the same day? Is it? So actually, there is a delivered exception, and I thought I showed it to you for somebody. It might be something. There is, it says, employees reported regular time, but it says, he's got leave time on the same day as regular time. Let me see if I can get to that person. It might have been, an exception. I'll find that for you. There is a delivered exception which will look for time reported on a day where there is also absences, but that is only for a full day. So you cannot get overtime under the system. The way the system is working, it has to see a full week of 37.5 hours plus on the FLSA week for them to get overtime. Or if they've got a different schedule, that's how they have to go work past the schedule. So if there is an absence there and the absence is not counted for premium overtime, they will not even get that premium overtime. And Brandy, Judd, Missy, Paula, based upon all your testing, that's what we found, right? You have to get your 37.5 of hours plus before you get any overtime. But to be safe, it might be possible for us to create a query, shows overtime and, absence on the same day. I don't think that's a realistic scenario.
There's a question on once employee self-serve is live, will any issues with direct deposit or tax forms still route to payroll or directly to the individual? The payroll folks in the agency will still be the point of contact for their employees. So if we have an issue that we are working through, we will work with you, and you will have to work with your employees to get whatever it is that we need to correct it. And then, do we share the tax and direct deposit forms in the shared drive until ESS is live? Right now, we really require to have the original direct deposit form sent to our office. Some of you, I think, dropped that in the shared drive, so that would continue. And same thing for the tax forms. You can either send the hard copies directly to us, dropping them off at the mailbox, outside of AOS's office, or through the shared drive. Anything else?
Hannah has a question for Ravine or Sally.
Sorry.
It's the very last question. Hannah has, that would go to Lavina or Sally.
Did we miss any in between there? I'm trying to just go down the line.
Right, are there any more questions?
There's still questions coming in.
Yeah, give us a second. We're still scanning down through to see if we've missed anything.
While everyone's scanning for questions, this is Latoya. I just wanted to say that the Human Resources webinar is role-based. So when you contact SPD, if you have not received an invitation, they'll be able to let you know whether or not your particular role will be invited to that webinar. And I just wanted to put that out there so that everyone knew. And Sally just put that in the chat as well. Thank you, Sally.
There is a question for the absence team from IEDC regarding the personal days. Agencies that accrue 8 hours every 4 months, only getting 22.5 hours up front.
I'm checking on that, Paula.
Okay, thank you. If we missed your question, you can re-answer it, or if you want to send us an email, we can try to address that too. And we're wrapping up here in about 10 minutes, I think. So I apologize if we didn't get to one of your questions. We tried to keep track of them. But great questions. We appreciate everybody's participation and jumping in and asking questions to make sure that you're understanding what we're doing.
Yeah, and to also piggyback off of what Paula is saying, I think you guys have been extremely engaged today. This has been very, very engaging. I also want to make note that there will be a Q&A session on the 20th, April 20th. And I want you all to be aware of that. So even if after this training something comes up, that'll be another opportunity for you guys to engage, and hopefully we'll be able to put all these questions and answers for you guys into a PDF. All right. Shuba, Paula, team, are there any last words before we wrap up?
I think we've covered all of the curriculum. I'm looking at all the portions we had for the post-lunch session, and I believe we covered pretty much everything. A couple of questions about what happens if overtime is generated and leave is selected. Can you just leave that, can you look at Casey Casey Combs, is there any, exception on the time and absence management side? So at 4:15, Casey Combs has asked, our issue isn't always one day. It's the total during the pay period where they work their 37.5 or more and still want to claim leave time in addition to that. Will the system allow that? So
It should.
That's what Sally said she's checking on.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, it's up to the agency to monitor if they want to use pyramiding of time, to go above their standard hours if someone's worked over, so.
This is Sally. I agree with what Brent just said. I said I was checking on Hannah's question about the brand new personal time.
okay. So Casey, from, Brent, who, the answer is yes, the system should allow it.
If your agency doesn't want that to occur, then the manager wouldn't approve that. They would have them adjust the leave time to
Correct.
equal 37.5. Yep.
Thank you, sir. You got that right? Okay, I think all questions have been answered. Did we not answer anybody's questions? Are we all okay, guys? Anything that's puzzling you that you want to put in this chat? Otherwise, we will thank you all for your patience, staying with us on this very, very hard journey, very complicated journey. The 8 hours of intensive discussion on the future state of your, 10 days in the life of agency payroll. I hope we answered, we got some extra information on what your, payroll period will be. And if there's any other questions, please do reach out to Stacy, you can filter that.
Absolutely, or the new HR, it's the SOI payroll HR email that many of you are familiar with. If you send it there too, a couple of us are monitoring that so we can direct questions directly from there too.
Also,
Ryan,
on the
thank you.
last page, Shuba, on the last page of this deck that will be sent to everyone, there is an email address for AOS that you can contact as well.
Correct. So thank you all for accompanying us, and we call it a wrap.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Shiva.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.